Good afternoon. Um, I want us to study the aspect of market research and customer relationship management, what is known as CRM. So, straight away, um, it is said that one of the best applications of market research is the area of customer relationship management. We do the market research so that we can maintain a good relationship with our customers, because through this research, we are going to collect some information that are key to satisfying our customers. And the moment our customers are satisfied, the automatic goal is that they'll always do a repeat customers and they'll have loyalty to their business. So the market research helps an organization to get an accurate and a sharp feedback on their performance. And through different customers' opinions, it helps them to understand what customers feel about their offers. So there are some of the subjects in which market research could give a valuable feedback, which include but not limited to getting useful information for future market growth. That through a market research, you're going to get very important information which can be used for future market expansion. It also helps in getting an idea on new product feasibility and acceptance by customers in the market before making investment on testing and producing the product. So through the research, you can get an idea um, about what the customers think about the product which you are yet maybe to launch in the market or to start manufacturing. So their ideas is very crucial for you, and the way you can get that is through the market research. It also helps in assessing cost sensitivity of customers, that how sensitive are customers to uh, the cost tags that we've placed on your product. Are they complaining that it is too expensive, or are they um, questioning why you're charging them too cheaply? Because customers are very, very funny. If you charge them too expensive, they will always complain. If you charge them too cheaply, they'll always have something to say. So um, the research will help you to get that. Finding new features of the product which can attract customers, you can also get that through market research. Finding the hidden aspects, uh, what a product possesses, and how leverage those aspects, how to leverage those aspects to bring them in front of the customers. It also helps in assessing level of customer satisfaction with the organization, especially specifically if the field of performance, technology, quality, service, cost, and completion schedule. So it helps in all those aspects. Then, in determining the strong aspect of for leveraging and weak aspects for making improvement to finally increase satisfaction levels in customers. Now, also, a research also helps in creating a database or information of competitors and treating this database as the reference point for benchmarking as per feedback from the customer. So through a research, you can also build a database of the competitors. Who are your competitors? What are they doing? What are some of the qualities, features they have which you don't have? What are the good things they're doing which you're not doing? What are your customers saying about them? It's very important. So identifying main areas in which organization is leading the competitors and areas in which they are lagging behind with them. So research can help you get that. Also, research can help you identify market trends and reasonable reasons for these trends. What is trending in the market currently? Through research, you can get that. What do customers like currently? So, and why are they trending? So, identifying reasons for poor business and determining which areas are mostly affected with these. A research can also help you in providing business solution for typical problems in all the aspects. It also helps in determining purchasing channels which the customers prefer. What are some of the purchasing channels that customers prefer most? So a research can help you that. Um, Identifying future perspectives. Research also helps you in identifying future business perspectives. So in many organizations, the um, the officials and executives are most of the times face to face with the customers. Um, so the customers rarely provide any negative feedback, being face to face, as it may be embarrassing for them to do so. So this is normal. That in most business setups, when somebody comes to buy from you, most customers will be shy to share their real ideas about how they feel about your product. Few will tell you point blank that no, I don't like your product, but majority will say, oh no, it is fine. While the real sense is that they are not happy with that particular provisions you are offering. So, in the same manner, they also hesitate in giving positive feedback because they are afraid that that by doing so, they could weaken the negotiation. Yeah, so some also see that now if I tells you, I don't like what you're selling is good, but if you're telling you that is good, because he knows that when you say that this thing is good, then you are going to increase the prices, the value on it. So you sell to him expensively because you have admitted that the product is good. So such kind of things normally makes research becomes handy, because when you're going to do the research at that moment, remember you're not selling, but you just need the information. But when once you're one touch, then there are high chances that you may not get that valuable information that you are looking for in the customer from the customers. I mean, so it is therefore very important for the organizations to perform market surveys and analyze the actual feedback which they are unable to get it revealed from these customers. So in many cases where customers are not face to face, the suppliers do not get the chance to get feedback from them directly. So they only get indirect feedback from agents or the middlemen, which are rarely optimistic and do not perceive the actual meaning. So business results and conclusions requires more details and analytical information. Hence, there is always an essential need for accurate market research or survey to be performed to get proper and reliable customers feedback. So in a CRM, that is customer relationship management system, this market research is embedded like market intelligence, which is based on real-time customer information. So in a CRM system whereby the customer relationship management, market research is always taken as a market intelligence, uh, which is normally based on real-time customer information, what is actually happening at that moment. So this information is integrated in such a way that it is accessible centrally with the organization's respective of departments, but it is also validated so that the confidential information is not accessed by the department which does not have the right to see it. So the information that you share with the concerned department, they are normally sealed so that whoever is not supposed to get it should not get it. So for example, notifications for late payment uh, by a customer should only be visible to accounting department and not to the customer service department, which are exposed to customers. So all the information is stored centrally in one customer relationship management system, but is integrated and customized in this intelligent way. So you need not to share information with everyone, those which are deemed to be confidential, because there are some people who don't know how to talk. Somebody can even tell you, no, you are disturbing us here, but we are still, you haven't paid us in the last uh, 6 months since we supplied you. So they should not know that unless you've sent them that you go get this particular uh, money or collect this money from this particular customer. But if not, then it should be kept with the concerned department. So integration of market research and CRM has turned out to be very efficient as it saves time for analysis and gives more accurate and authentic results as compared to the traditional market research tools. So we have got what called the WIP, that is what is called work in progress. There's work in progress and work in process. So you need to get these terms very clearly. Now, work in progress. This is a production and supply chain management term describing partially finished goods awaiting completion. So partially finished goods, they are not fully completed, but they are partially finished and they're waiting the completion. So we say the work is still in progress. So it refers to the raw materials, labor. So we know raw materials is used to manufacture the finished product. Labor is used to make the process be done, and overhead costs incurred for the products that are at various stages of the production process. So work in progress is a component of the inventory asset account on the balance sheet. So it is a component of the inventory asset account. When you go to the inventory asset account, we have the work in progress is forms part of it. So these costs are subsequently transferred to the finished goods account and eventually to the cost of the sales. So work in progress are one of the components on a company balance sheet. On a company balance sheet, and the WIP figures reflect only the value of those products in some intermediate production stage. So these exclude the values of the raw materials. Also, so the value of the raw materials. Also, I said that the WIP figures reflect the value of those products in some intermediate stage of production, to exclude the value of the raw materials, which are incorporated in the items for sales, and also the WIP figures also exclude the value of the finished products being held as inventory in anticipation for future sales. So in short, the work in progress refers to those products that are not yet finished, that they're waiting. So like the raw materials. So their value is always different with the value of a finished product. Because remember, a raw material and a finished product, these things are different. A finished product, there are some things which have been integrated into it. So incorporated into the sales, for sales, so the WIP figures exclude those values of finished product being held as inventory anticipation for future sales. So how do you understand this? This is the best way to understand the work in progress. It is a concept used to describe the flow of manufacturing cost from one area of production to the next, and the balance in the WIP represent all the production costs incurred for partially completed goods. So the production costs include raw materials, labor used in making those goods, and allocated overhead. So when for example, when comps are manufactured, plastic is moved into the production as a raw material. Then labor costs are incurred to operate the molding equipment. So first we get the plastic, hiyo ni bei yake. Then we get those who are going to do it, that's the labor. So since the comps are only partially completed, all costs are posted to the work in progress. So when the comps are completed, the costs are moved from work in progress to finished goods, with both accounts being part of the inventory account. So costs are moved from the inventory to cost of goods sold. That is what called the COGS. when the comps are eventually sold. So a piece of inventory is classified as work in progress whenever it has been mixed with human labor but has not reached the final goods status. So get this point very clearly, that a piece of inventory is classified as work in progress whenever it is mixed with human labor but has not reached the finished good status. That is when we talk about the work in progress. So only some, but not all necessary labor has been mixed with this. So work in progress, along with other inventory accounts, can be determined by various accounting methods across different companies. So thus it is important for investors to discern from a company is measuring its work in progress and other inventories account. So one company's work in progress may not comparable to another. Allocations of overhead can be based on man's hour or machine's hours, for example. And work in progress is also an asset of the balance sheet. So it is standard practice to minimize the amount of work in progress inventory before reporting is necessary, since it is difficult and time consuming to estimate the percentage of completion of an inventory asset. So some of the difference job costing and process costing. Now, for accounting purposes, process costing differs from job costing. It differs from job costing, which is a method used when each customer's job is different. So job costing tracks, so the job costing tracks the cost and profit for a specific job and allows accountants to trace expenses for each job for tax purposes for analysis. That's scrutinizing cost to see how they can be reduced. Then, for example, when we have XYZ roofing company providing its residential clients bids for roof repair or replacement, each roof is a different size and will require specific roofing equipment and a varying number of labor hours. So each bid lists the labor, material, and overhead cost for the work. On the other hand, a process costing system tracks, accumulates and assigns costs associated with the manufacturing of homogeneous products, that is similar ones. Consider the companies that manufactures plastic pumps. The plastic is put into a mold in the molding department, and then painting before being packaged. As the comps move from the department, that is the molding, to painting to packaging to another, more costs are added to the production. Okay. Now, another similar term, work in progress. Now, work in process represent partially completed goods. So get these terms, they are confusing, but they're very simple. These goods are also referred to as goods in process. So for some, work in process refers to products that move from raw materials to finished product in a short period, as we have said. An example of work in process may include manufactured goods. We have talked about that. Now, work in progress is sometimes used to refer to assets that require considerable amount of time to complete, such as consulting or construction project. Like maybe when you are constructing a road, and the road is near completion or the work is still on. So we say the work is still in progress. So this differentiation may not necessarily be the norm. So either term can be used to refer to as unfinished product in most situations. So this inventory is found on manufacturing companies' balance sheet, and this account of inventory, like the work in progress, may include direct labor, uh, materials which are used, manufacturing overheads, etc. Now, work in progress versus the finished goods. What is the difference between the work in progress and finished goods? Is based on the inventory stage of relative completion. So, which in this instance means sellability. So, work in progress refers to the intermediary stage of inventory in which inventory has started its progress from the beginning as the raw materials and is currently undergoing development or assembly into the final product. So finished goods refers to the final stage of inventory in which the product has reached a level of completion, where the subsequent stage is that of uh, the sale to a customer. So the term work in progress and finished goods are relative terms made in reference to specific company accounting for its inventory. So they are not absolute definitions of actual materials or products. So it is incorrect to assume that finished goods for one company would also be finished goods for another company. So take note of that. So finished goods for one company may not be the same as the finished goods for another company. For example, sheet plywood, the plywood, these ones which you use for making different things, may be a finished goods for a lumber mill. That is where they're being manufactured because it is ready for sale. But that same plywood is considered raw material for industrial cabinet manufacturers. When now you buy it, that plywood, the company that made the plywood considers a finished good because that is what they make as a final product to sell. You which buys maybe for making a cupboard, you consider as a raw material. So it is not a finished product. So for a carpenter who manufactures cabinets, you will consider it as a finished product when the cabinet is ready, but not as the material that is purchased. So as such, same with somebody who buys uh, these materials for making a dressmaker buys the materials for making a dress. For the dressmaking company, it consider that as that material, dressmaking materials as a finished good. And for a tailor, consider that materials that piece of cloth as just a material that is going to be used to make the finished good. So that's why we say that what is considered as a finished good for one company may not be the finished good for another. So as such, the difference between work in progress and finished goods is based on an inventory stage of completion relative to its total inventory. So a work in progress and a finished goods refer to the intermediary and a final stage of inventory life cycle, respectively. Goods in transit. Now, I'll summarize this by goods in transit. These are goods that are on their way to a neighboring country or to a far country, but they're passing through the territory of one country. For example, use Kenya. Kenya and Uganda, Kenya and DRC Congo. Goods leave the port of Mombasa. They're destined to Uganda. So these goods going to Uganda, they are using Kenyan territory as a mode of uh, uh, of, uh, as a mode of their transportation. So that transit, that movement is what called a transit. So when goods passes through a territory of one nation to another via road, in most cases, or via rail, we refer to that as a transit cargo. So there are those underway from sellers to buyer, but aren't physically held in the inventory of either. So some important liability and accounting concerns around transit inventory is also known. So the term of the sales should discuss the issues that make sure that the goods are adequately protected and all participants in the transactions understand their rights and obligations. So if a problem like a delay, loss, theft occurs, while the products are underway, both parties need to be prepared to address it. So goods in transit, always they belong to another country, but they're using the territory of another nation as a transit point. So for accounting purposes, goods in transit can create a problem because the specific of their ownership may be hazy. Sometimes this is not a problem. If goods are shipped on a 10th and arrived on 15th, when they arrive, the buyer records them as an asset in the inventory. So it can also become an issue if the shipment move over time period when an accounting period is closing. So classically, this involves a product that may be underway between the end of 1 year and the start of the next year. Okay. So now, 3 examples of goods in transit. Goods in transit are merchandise or finished goods that have been shipped by a seller, haven't been received by the buyer. The following illustrative examples, like we have an e-commerce. An e-commerce seller ships merchandise to a customer. The goods remain in the seller's inventory until the customers receive the order. At this point, the goods are considered as cost of goods sold. FOB shipping point, shipment between firms may be destined freight on board shipping point. This means that the ownership of the transfer, this means that ownership transfer to the buyer as soon as the goods are shipped. And in this case, goods are considered cost of goods sold by the seller as soon as they depart. So the buyer may not recognize goods inventory until they are received. So, however, strictly speaking, they are in the buyer's inventory from the moment they ship. FOB destination, the freight on board destination are purchase terms that transfer ownership when the buyer receives a shipment. In this case, the goods remain in the seller's inventory until they receive confirmation that the shipment was completed. So we have primary and secondary suppliers. A primary supplier do not rely on someone else for the raw materials used in the manufacture of their product. Get that very well. That these people, they do not rely on someone else for the raw materials that are used for the manufacture of their product. So as I was saying that primary suppliers, these people do not rely on someone else for the raw materials used in the manufacture of their product. And a secondary supplier do. They incorporate ingredients from another supplier into their product. So this is the difference. A primary supplier, for him, he relies on his raw materials, but the secondary one, he can outsource, then use them to manufacture the finished products. So the 5 characteristics to look for in a backup supplier. Now, having a backup supplier in place will help companies get products out on time and with minimal disruptions caused by unexpected increase in demand or regulatory issues with the primary source. So sometimes we know when to rely on one person is not always good, because sometimes the other person might be held up or something else can come up. So it is good to have an alternative. Now, what do you look at when you are looking for an alternative supplier? One is quality. So when searching for a primary or a backup supplier for a product, the grade of the materials and the quality management system in place at the supplier should be examined closely. So when companies look at the 3 main supply considerations, quality, time, cost, and they often realize they may not be able to get all the 3. So if that is the case, always focus on the quality first. And since that is the most likely of the 3 considerations to get you into trouble. So the first thing, if you're looking for a backup supplier, consider the quality, because you may not be able to get everything which you need, but quality This is what may get to trouble with your client. So the second consideration should be on-time delivery. And finally, the cost. So poor quality has buried many companies and their suppliers. So this is the reality in which business operates. So the first thing, always the quality. And another thing, once you establish the quality, then on-time delivery, because let them not be late. Then you can now talk about the cost. Flexibility. All good supplier relationship should involve a good deal of flexibility. For example, Johnson believes your supplier should always be willing to take your preference into account and work with you in providing options for sourcing it. So then I have ability to perform as the primary suppliers. So you need to be confident that you can order from either source at any time, and that you both will be able to adequately meet your needs. So they are ready to take over at any time. So most companies will hire individuals who are ready to step in and replace the more senior employees when they are called upon to do so. So the same should be true of backup suppliers. So uh, the Shana Stmeyer notes that it is not unusual for a company that starts off as a secondary supplier to be suddenly become the primary. So this can be due to several factors, including delivery or quality issues at the primary or the secondary, simply providing better pricing or service. So sometimes you're a backup, but you are a backup which is giving more quality than the primary. So what will happen? You will be you'll take the place for the other person. So if you're a secondary supplier to another firm, always perform as you are the primary. It might work out in your favor. All right. So they should also be concerned with your success, same way you do. So the best way to ensure that your supplier or CMO can meet your primary or secondary supplier need is to perform as a thorough risk analysis. So your supplier or the CMO should always ask what elements of the supply chain um, are the most crucial to your success. If they don't, they may not have your long-term best interest in mind. So once they know what those are, they should always ensure there is a secondary supplier to fall back on. So to ensure there is a dual source for those mission critical products. So primary and secondary customers, primary customer, the ones that finds a real and tangible value in your product and who are willing to pay for that. In some cases, they will be actual users of the product, but sometimes they will not even use the system or be very light users indirect value delivery situation. So these are the users that you always have to sell to, but not necessarily those you will create the system or the service features and the solutions for. Social platforms, the power users, the ones that can translate the available volumes and network to tangible value that is worth paying for, often a minority or corporations that want a branded presence or access to the network. So there's also, we have got the in-cloud app enterprise systems, a company management and sometimes powers users. These might be the actual users or not at all, but they may have a need to ensure company-wide data consistency or use, or they have a need for more features or something bespoke. So secondary users, the ones that the primary users is dependent on, and they are underlying needs that is fulfilling by your products, courtesy of the primary customer. So typically, they take the offer for granted, free use of some cloudy service or given systems that allows them to do their job, and no So no interest in paying. So these are the customers you design your product or service for. These are some the ones that must find it easy, useful, and pleasure to use. So they are the drivers of growth, pushing the value up of the primary or and tertiary. So, but they are not the direct source of income. So you and me and my uncle find it easy to connect, and that it enhances our everyday life. So the more we are, the higher the value is for ourselves and for the others customers groups. So in cloud apps, enterprise software, these are just an example in a way. The bulk of the users takes the offer for granted, but are still the harshest critics, the callers for the features. Okay, so the tertiary customers, the third layers of customers of users that can enhance the overall value of both the groups, and that they often find enough value in the product or the service to be willing to pay as well. So they also include the social platform, advertisers, in cloud apps, all that. So the primary customers don't necessarily have to be your largest customer base. They could be customers that spend the most money with you, earns you a significant profit margin, are likable and easy to deal with. So these are them. So they don't necessarily have to be your largest customer base, but they could be a customer that spend most money with you. Those are your primary customers. Earns you significant profit margin, are likable and easy to deal with. They're likable and easy to deal with, or they could be located within uh, a specific geographical region. So, for example, if you are a marketing company and your team had experience working with automotive accounts, your primary audience could be automotive dealers within the Midwest with more than 2,000 cars or lot. So more specifically, you might target the key decision makers such as the owner, CEO, the GM, or the sales manager, or something of that sort. Okay. Yeah. So up to there, we are winding our class, and in our next class, we are going to start on elements of logistics in international trade. Until next time, have a good afternoon. Bye.